Do you have some health issues that are stopping you from getting outside? Are you nervous about being around a lot of people because of the last 2 years you've been pretty isolated with COVID? Have you lost a spouse? Do you live alone? Are you feeling lonely and it's finally getting to you? Well, join me today and maybe we'll talk about it and just see if we can come up with some solutions. Hi, I'm Denise and welcome to Travels in My Chair. Been giving a lot of thought in the last little while about the idea of loneliness, depression, and that can actually happen even if you have a partner living with you, because you guys have been together so much 24/7 for the last couple of years, and the life that you used to have has disappeared. Not everyone is an out there person. Not everyone can make decisions that'll change their life and put their best foot forward. But sometimes, as my friend said, you have to force yourself, especially if you move into a new community or you're newly widowed or whatever reason. We've lived an isolated life for much too long, and yet if you are older and you have compromised health like I have with MS, autoimmune, diabetes, autoimmune, and cancer, I don't want to take a chance, and I won't risk myself getting ill. Is that a word? Iller? So how do you live with loneliness? I mean, we all feel it. We could be in a room full of people and still feel lonely. Remember the good old days before COVID? Let me just give you an idea. My girlfriends and I, we would take an annual girl trip for a weekend. We would plan Christmas dinners and celebrate birthdays, and I'd go out on my scooter and go for a walk. We'd go out for lunch, we'd go out for dinner, go to a movie, and all that came to a grinding halt in March of 2020. And there became a paranoia for people of a certain age and with health issues that made them hesitant. Now that the restrictions have all but disappeared, doesn't mean COVID's gone, because it hasn't. It's still very, very much around, but we're not hearing about it so much because people are doing home tests. So there's a couple of things you can do to make your life a little bit easier. One thing is to keep your clutter to a minimum so that you know where everything is, because if you're living alone, you're the one that's putting it away. So it's not like you can go, well, somebody moved it. Well, no, you're there. You moved it. So the best way to deal with that is just not to have a bunch of clutter. And by not having a bunch of clutter around, it'll keep your brain uncluttered. I mean, if you go into your house and you just see stuff everywhere, your brain will automatically start getting anxious. I think emotionally, you long for another person. And I'm not talking about, the physicality of it right now. I mean, it's not like we wish we were 30 or 40 and we're not. Our brain does, and our body doesn't work like that. But it's a physical contact, and that's why I'm saying about hugging or just a touch on the shoulder. And sometimes that's just not going to be available to you. So number one, think about a pet. And remember, you are not a failure if you are alone. You may choose to live alone because that's a lifestyle that you've always preferred. That's fine. You may not feel comfortable putting yourself out there right now. And that's what we've got to try and change in a safe way. Let me tell you a little story about what pets can do for you. First of all, they're going to satisfy that need to touch and be touched. But you're older. And the idea of having a puppy like Roxy, who, I'll be honest, she's 24/7. She's a lot of work, and we've still got stuff she's not doing. She's right here just looking at me going, come on, Mom, play ball, play ball, play ball. Yeah, you're a good girl. You're a good girl. However, okay, stop now. Rocks, not right now. Bring the ball to Mommy. Yeah, Rocks. That's the handle of the camera, not the ball. Where's the ball? Oh no, where'd it go? No, you gotta give it or I can't play. Let go. Okay. Where's it? Bring it back. Good girl. She just says, I just want to come up here and bug you just for a minute, okay, Mom? Just for a minute, and I want to give you a kiss because that's what I love to do. And I'm like, oh, God. And see? There we got the love right there. So let me start with a short story. My mom had a friend who had recently lost her spouse, and she had to sell her big house. She couldn't take care of it. She moved into a small apartment. She was very lonely. She was having difficulty walking, and so the idea of, say, going shopping or meeting her girlfriends for lunch, it just was too much work. She contacted the 2 vets in her community and also the local SPCA, and she said, I have a request. I need an elderly cat. I need a cat whose owner has died or had to go into a nursing facility. I need a cat who's used to being indoors and would just enjoy laying on the back of the couch and basking in the sunshine in the window or being on my lap so I could stroke her. And I want an elderly cat because I'm not sure, I'm 83, I'm not sure how long I'm going to live. I do have health issues. And they all basically said the same thing. Well, you know, that's a tall order. She said, no, I'm not in a hurry. I want, put my name out there, and please, if you do have something, that would be great. And about a week later, they phoned and said that one of their long-term clients had just in the last few days passed away, and her granddaughter had brought in her cat, who was 15, and said, it's 15 years old, it's not going to live much longer, so I want you to euthanize it. And the vet said, well, if we could find a home for it, if we could rehome it, would that be acceptable to you? And the granddaughter said, yeah, I don't care. Poor cat, right? And this happens a lot. I have to tell you that these animals are being dumped in cages because nobody wants them, and they still have some love to give. And they've loved their whole life, as this cat had. And in came this little silver, long-haired Persian-y cat. And for 4 years, the cat and my mom's friend spent, basking in the sun, sitting on her little deck. The cat would lay down at the back of the couch or lay on her lap, would sleep with her, she would stroke her. And it kept them both healthy because they had companionship, because that's what a pet can give you, and that's what you can give a pet. And eventually, at the age of 19, after a lovely life, Kitty, little Miss Kitty her name was, I remember, passed away. And my mom's friend realized that the cat had been keeping her more active than she would have been without the cat, and that now the cat was gone, it was time for her to move on to an assisted living facility because she needed more care, and she was aware of that, so she did. Could that be you? Monday, June 27th. It's 3:30. We just picked up Roxy from the vet. She's got her little sweater on. Cover up her stitches. Very drugged up. Very dozy. She had to have 2 baby teeth pulled as well as being spayed. And she's on a bunch of drugs because, she's a hoppy, runny, run-around, crazy little puppy. You can't tell right now because she's so drugged up. So we're keeping her pretty close and so that she doesn't jump or rip out her stitches. And she came through really well. I don't think she hates her vet. She was licking them all when Alan took her in this morning. But yeah, she's pretty drugged out. I don't think we're going to see much of her for the night. My friend moved to a new community and realized that if she was going to meet anybody in this community that she'd have to put herself out there. And it's hard. older you get, the harder it gets. It's so much easier to keep your old friends than to try and cultivate new friendships. I get it. But my friend joined a walking group. She went online. She found there's 2 or 3 in her community. She joined a couple of them. They meet once or twice a week, depending, and you do whatever you want. There are walking groups out there that do, a hike, and they change the areas every time, and then they'll post it online so that you know where they're going to meet, what time, and where they're going to go. And then afterwards they'll go for coffee outside somewhere. But there are walking groups for people that don't do much walking. It's just a matter of you doing the work to find them. And start by maybe talking to your senior center. It is hard. I understand how hard it is to make that phone call. If you're talking about food delivery, because you may be a little worried about having to go into a restaurant or something like that. My friend and I, we do date night. Well, she comes over and we take turns. Either Alan makes us supper, which is very lovely of him, or she'll bring something. And then we'll watch a couple of episodes of Outlander. We've been dragging it on for a couple of years now because we don't want it to end. The other thing is some of the restaurants, like I said, have got meals that they've frozen that you can purchase. And some of them will even deliver. Some of the meals are in grocery stores and some are right at the restaurant themselves. Some of the food we found, Alan and I found, actually have enough servings for 2 people. So let's say you wanted to invite a friend over, and a friend that I'm going to say is in your bubble. And in your bubble meaning is leading sort of the same lifestyle that you're leading, so that they're not out and about in big crowds of people, not attending raves, whatever. But maybe then come over and have dinner with you, and then you could watch a movie. What it is, it's sharing the companionship of a meal. A meal is not meant to be eaten alone in isolation. A meal is part of your life. Or think about, when your family, growing up, you sat around the table, you ate a meal, you shared what was going on during the day, your life, whatever, and we're missing all that now. And it doesn't mean that we don't have a life, it just means our life is different. So if you can have 1 or 2, just, keep it small, either over for a meal or d'oeuvres, whatever, just to keep yourself social. You can be living with a partner and still feel lonely. I've known that from friends that have told me so. After 2 years of being in the same house 24/7, they've run out of things to talk about, and they're living entirely separate lives within a 500,000, 2,000 square feet, and it can happen. Some of my friends had joined book clubs, before COVID. And some of those book clubs are slowly beginning to start up again. Some of them did it via Zoom during COVID, but I have to tell you, I could never get into the Zoom thing. I like personal contact myself. Just sometimes you just need a physical touch, a physical, that a girl, I got to tell you that I'm guilty of a lot of this stuff. And one of the reasons that I've decided to make this video is to share some of the stuff with you, but also to let you know that I'm going through some of this stuff too. I'm feeling that I am almost having to beg some of my friends to come over and have tea or coffee with me and share their company. I'm feeling needy. I don't like to feel needy, but that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm needing companionship, and yet I'm lethargic and I'm too lazy to go out and search for it. And if I'm feeling that way and I have my family around me, how much you guys be feeling? It's tough. It's really tough. And it has not been easy to bounce back into normal life, because I don't think we're back at normal life yet, and I don't think we are going to be, and I don't think we should be. As much as I'd love to go and see a concert, I don't think I will be going to see one anytime soon. Nor on a cruise. I'm sorry, I don't want to get sicker. So if you're willing to make changes in your life, to dig deep and think about what you can do to bring satisfaction to you. You may not be running through the fields naked. I'm sorry, but that might not be not a good sight. But you could make some changes. You know, there's garden clubs and there's different things, but you may not be a club person, i.e. the animal volunteers. Why couldn't you be a volunteer? If you have got the wonderful use of your legs, oh, lucky you if you do, why don't you volunteer and help somebody in need and walk their pets for them or deliver food to them? You could do that. It's hard to make changes in your life when your energy is low, like mine is right now. But this is what I'm planning on doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile a list of my friends. Actually, I've already done it. And divide them into two because I just don't want a whole bunch of people over. And then I'm going to invite them over for hors d'oeuvres and they can each bring one thing because, as my daughter said, you don't want Dad to have to do all the cooking for your friends. So if they each bring something, we can sit around on the deck. We don't have to be in the house if the weather's good. And we can just have a visit and just catch up on our lives. Because we haven't been doing that, you know? There's probably lots of other things that you can do to help with your loneliness. Identifying it as one thing. And like I said before, it's really difficult. You might be a member of the church. To put yourself out there is very daunting. I have friends that even now, and I've known them for 40 years, will sit at the perimeter of a group if we're having a get-together, and they'll hardly say a word. They're listening, they're part of it, and they're participating in the only way that they know how. So those are the people that might need a little bit of help. Thank you so much for joining me today. All this started coming to me when we were on our trip coming back from Alberta. There was a lot of things going on apart from, you know, the brakes failing on the motorhome and everything else, but my back had been hurting, my tailbone was hurting, I was exhausted, and I was feeling pretty sorry for myself by the time I got home. Well, I can admit that. And I just felt that if I was feeling sorry for myself after just being surrounded by a whole ton of people, gosh, there might be others out there that are feeling a bit, and maybe not sorry for themselves. Maybe that's not the right word, right? Maybe it's more like, I need someone in my life. I need someone to share my life with, a friend, anything. I do need that. You guys are important to me. Sometimes if I've got no one hanging around my life, you guys become my little YouTube family. Small that it is, but it's perfect. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining me every couple of weeks and being so supportive. Love you. See you in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.